नमस्कार। वेल, संदीप जी का इंट्रोडक्शन तो आपके सामने हो गया, तो शुड आई स्टार्ट माय क्वेश्चन विद हर? वेल, संदीप जी, how do you find the atmosphere at home?
Can I first of all wish everybody a very happy new year? I absolutely love coming to India, and because first of all it's very warm for me, and I'm sorry for those of you who feel cold, but I really do love Rajasthan. This is my third visit, and I'm really pleased to Sandeep Pretoria for arranging this conversation this morning, and I'm particularly pleased because we both share so much in common, Dr. Pona.
That's very true. You share with your name with Sandeep Verma and Sandeep Pretoria, and we both of us are Sardaris.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, tell me something about basic differences between Indian and British politics.
Well, I think, Dr. Pomana, the thing that we found here is that, first of all, India is still a fledgling democracy, and I'm a minister in the oldest democracy in the world. I think that the systems here are, that there are state systems as well as central systems, whereas in the UK we only have centralised systems. But I do think that I must really congratulate India within the sort of small time frame. It is the largest democracy in the world, and whilst it may not be perfect, it still allows one man, one vote. And I think that if we build on that, in another 50, 60 years' time, I suspect India will be an incredibly different place. I do, however, think that with recent events, there are lots of things that need to still be looked at seriously and closely. And one of them is not just in India, but is across the globe, is the representation of women in politics. I think that is a key phenomena. So I think that we share a lot of things that need to change rather than have a lot of differences.
Very true. Did you face challenges in England of being a girl within your own community, or challenges of being a non-white from the wider indigenous community, and how hard it was for you to establish your identity, to combat racism, and to develop resolve to succeed? 3 questions.
They're very loaded questions. But first of all, if I say that the fact that I was born in Amritsar helps. I think the fact that if you're born in a place which produced warriors, it does help.
So you are a warrior.
I think I'll start with the first one about our own community, because I think that is the bigger fault line. I think our community still remains hugely patriarchal. It still has huge discriminations within itself. And whilst I have a fabulous husband who supports everything I do, I mean, you know, we've been married for 35 years, and from day one, he's said to me, look, you go and do whatever you want because I believe what you're doing is right. I think that the Indian community itself still has a long way to go. On the basis of racism, of course, when I was growing up in UK, there was a lot of racism. We had legislation brought in the 70s to combat racism, but instead of it being overt, now it's covert. It still exists, of course it does. But we also have a fault line with ourselves that we're not willing often to stand up and challenge what we see as racism. And those of us who do then have the battle not only just with the wider community but with our own communities, because once you start to upset the apple cart, of course the ramifications are not just singularly for you, but they spread out. But unless we're prepared to stand up, nothing changes. So I think there are some difficulties there. As a girl, I think I found out very quickly, as you might have noticed, my name is Sandeep, which tends to be a boy's name. So you might have guessed my dad wanted a boy, got me as a girl, decided to name me as a boy, and so he couldn't expect any less when all my tendencies are tended to be a boy's.
What about your resolve to succeed?
I think the fact is, I really do think it's back down to where I was born. I think reading Indian history, looking at my own sort of roots of where I came from, knowing that actually, to be quite frank, there are some of us who are just, I think, born to actually stand up and perhaps not accept what is supposed to be the accepted norm. You, likewise, have done it. And in fact, if I throw the question back at you, how did you manage? I mean, we've come into politics at a similar timing. Not only do we have so much in common, we came into politics, the colour of our clothes is similar too. But Dr. Seva, how did you find it as a female in a very patriarchal society?
I think the conditions are almost the same in our country also. But yes, we are in the infancy of our democracy, that's true. But we are progressing very fast. The percentage of women coming into politics in different professional area is going up. And we are more in numbers in politics as compared to other countries. So that's the scenario in our country now.
But I think the thing, of course, is, I mean, the previous Prime Minister Blair, and my Prime Minister David Cameron have worked consciously to bring more women in. But my fear is that although we have more women coming in, are they reaching senior levels? Are they coming in from our own diverse communities? I don't want to see just families replicating themselves into politics. I think the pool has got to be much wider, so people that are drawn from medicine, drawn from myself from business, need to be in politics, because the levels of discrimination you find at every juncture can only be changed because people are willing to actually say the system needs change, rather than just accept that it can carry on in its current form.
We have already got quoted that you are not having any political background. Even I'm not from a political background. I'm a true professional. I was a true professional doctor. I came into politics just because of my destiny, I believe. So people of different origin, not from political background, they are also coming. It's happening here also, and we are quite satisfied. Now it's moving, especially girls, which are coming into politics in different areas. So let's hope for the best. So coming to the next question, Sandeep, how you take your political decision? In a typical Punjabi style, immediate action with risk-taking abilities, or slow to react and adopt, wait and watch what's. I hope you like the question.
That is a hard one. Because my instinct is to react.
That's a typical Sardani instinct, isn't it?
That is a typical Sardani. Thank God I'm married to a shop.
I hope Navdeep should have been around.
And the thing about politics is, and I'm sure you would have recognised, is that whilst you want a really immediate reaction, it's not the way politics works. And because what I decide will have an impact on many people, I need to make sure I've reflected the unintended consequences as well as the consequence of what I'm about to decide on. For me, I think that the great thing has been that because I've been in business for so long, taking decisions from a very young age meant that I was able to sit down and really work out the direction I wanted things to go in, so that I could pan out my decisions around that. But politics is definitely a different type of machinery. I'm just incredibly fortunate that I have a party leader who believes very much in the value I bring, which is why I'm pleased that I'm a minister in energy and climate change, because it takes you away from the norm of just talking about issues that are just related to women and takes it on a much broader scale. So to your response, I think my instinct would be to be a typical Sardani, but I end up being a sensible woman.
Thank you.
Sensible Sardani.
That's appropriate. Okay. You are representing House of Lords since 2006. Being a member of House of Lords, do you have responsibilities of governance or when you are in opposition? And in that respect, what are the detailed set of duties and responsibilities?
Well, first of all, the House of Lords is slightly different to your upper house here, because in the House of Lords, I'm there permanently forever. Only the Queen and God can remove me. So,
That's a tremendous, opportunity they have.
So therefore we can think long term. Whereas politics, I think by and large you think on a election to election basis. In the House of Lords we have the ability to think 20 years from now what we're deciding now will have as an impact. And by and large in the House of Lords we're revisers of legislation. So our job is basically to look at legislation and revise and hopefully look at the smaller detail and look at what the unintended consequence would be of the overall legislation on the overall public. So it is much more of a, and I'm saying this not in a derogatory manner to the lower house, but it is we have more time to be able to look at the intellectual detail of legislation, which I think often, because of the nature of politics, can sometimes be missed.
Well, any question regarding this from the...
So have you done something recently in terms of climate change? Is there...
Remember is that whatever action takes place on climate change, it'll only work if it's globally.
Yeah.
I mean, for us in the UK, we will be having an energy bill, which will seriously take a look at many more renewable energies on how to ensure that UK itself is leading from the front by ensuring that not all of our usage is on the fossil fuels or on gas. But I think if we come back to the fact that climate change is a phenomenon that needs to be still talked about very much as something that globally the decisions will need to take place on. Individually, countries can do a lot. I mean, and individually we can all do a lot. I mean, by just doing certain things ourselves as individuals, we can change things. But I think far too much focuses on sort of what happens macro and not enough what happens micro. And we need to be able to marry the two. One of the things I'm introducing in the UK it'll be introduced by 2014, are smart metering, which will allow people to actually monitor the amount of energy usage within their homes. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I think when you see something visible, physical, you then start to readjust your own behaviour to the usage of what you use. So I think there are things we're doing in the UK, but India is a huge country, and its needs are still incredibly huge, with a lot of your population still very much not connected in many respects. So there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of things that India can do and can do really well. In fact, I saw a solar plant in Mount Abu, a phenomenal solar plant. So there are things India is doing. It's just I think we need to be a little bit more determined in our approach. And not leave it to others to do. I think individually we can do a lot too.
Coming back to your parent country, how often you visit India, your native place, Amritsar?
I don't visit it enough. I think in a year I maybe do two, 3 visits, but they usually are for about 5 days. Last year I came for 3 days to Bangalore, did a conference and went back. So it's not long enough. I don't see enough of India, which is what I want to do.
Let's come to the domestic front. Can we ask